So today, I want to talk about something that I've been wanting to talk about for a while now. I seem to say that a lot, don't I? But I didn't really have the words for it yet. It's something that I've been noticing and has really frustrated me, but I didn't have a fully articulated concept of what I was gonna say about it. And it's this: comedy sucks now. Um, and the main reason why I think that is, um, first, it seems like Seth Rogen seems to be like the number one, like, comedic film guy, whatever you want to say, right now. And raunchy stoner comedy is just not my thing. Maybe it's your thing, sure, whatever, I don't care, but it's not my thing. And but I'm specifically talking about stand-up comedy. That I mean, up front on a stage with a mic in hand, telling one-liners or whatever it is that different comedians are different, obviously. And I like every other person, love good stand-up comedy. Um, I'm subscribed to like John Crist and Tim Hawkins and some of these, and so like some of their bits are just genius. They're just hilarious. Um, Stuff comes up in my feed occasionally of Robin Williams and of Rodney Dangerfield. Some of these where I mean they're just classic, hilarious stuff that doesn't matter what your background is, or maybe not so much your age, because some of them you should certainly be a certain age before you hear them. But like you can always laugh at it. Like it's good quality stuff. And there's a thing that keeps coming up in my feed. It's this one specific comedian, or self-described comedian, I guess. I don't think he's very funny. Where instead of him telling jokes, just like straight, ordinary kind of comedic bits, the videos of him are constantly just him doing these social media or SJW takedowns of some heckler. And sometimes they'll be spliced in with an interview or something of him talking about that exchange, but most of the time it's just him. Somebody will heckle him lightly, and like it'd be one thing if it was once, because I think every comedian at one point or another has been heckled. There's ones of Joe Rogan, there's ones of Robin Williams, of others that have had to deal with hecklers at times, or George Carlin. So I think it's kind of a rite of passage, maybe, or maybe a kind of consistent obstacle comedians have to deal with. But in this instance, it's not every once in a while it would appear for him, because each time one of these videos of him appears, he's wearing different clothing, he's in a different setting, so it seems to be a consistent event that occurs throughout his career. And I think at some point, if you're being heckled that much, like, the reason you're up on that stage with the microphone is to make people laugh. So if you're being heckled this much, it's probably because you're not accomplishing job goal number one. You're not really that funny, because even an offensive, like with Robin Williams or some of these, where they say objectively offensive things or insulting things, maybe things that are insensitive at times, because it's veiled in an like something that's actually humorous, people just kind of let it slide. They let it go because the laugh is worth the moment of indecency. I don't know if that's the way to describe it, but that seems to be the kind of the mindset. The only time people get upset in these instances is if the joke is bad, or it's so heavily front-loaded with whatever your stupid ideology is that we can't see the joke past the nonsense that you're trying to shove down our throats with it. And specifically this one comedian, like, he's just constantly dealing with this, I guess. And I guess that's kind of, it's indicative for me of kind of a mindset or a cultural kind of milieu that what in the world is the deal with comedy right now? It seems like the Amy Schumers and the Sarah Silvermans have kind of hijacked it in some ways. I guess in some ways you expect, like, there hasn't been a really good stand-up comedian come along in a while. Like, I mean, if you want the political type discourse, I mean, George Carlin has been dead for a long time, and that if you like him, you might like a guy like Brad Stein, but he hasn't produced anything new in several years. And I guess it seems to be like the secular world of comedy. I guess that's kind of the way I'll segue it. Is the secular world of comedy is in a disaster state right now. If you like good, clean comedy, family-friendly comedy, it seems to be a little bit of a kind of a high watermark for them. And so maybe just kind of throw a shout out to Dry Bar Comedy producing a lot of that. Back in the early thousands, there was Bananas that was kind of leading the way on that, but it's kind of subsided. John Crist and Tim Hawkins, hilarious quality stuff there. And so definitely would encourage you to check that stuff out if you're kind of just tired of it the way that I am. But I get that late night comedy has always been kind of a bastion or kind of a shelter for comedy throughout the last few decades. You have Johnny Carson, some of these David Letterman, Jay Leno, really important places for comedy to incur. And it was always late night stuff. It was not really meant for kids. Well, what it seems to be to me is that you have so many of these shows now. You have Last Week or SNL, and like every single cable news or cable channel seems to have at least one, if not multiple. You have the Daily Show and the Nightly Show and all that stuff. And as a result, they always have a comedian as their host, and they always have these one-liner kind of reductive, like very basic spiels on whatever their thing is for the night, or if it's John Oliver or if it's whoever it is. And quite honestly, they're just not funny. I guess that's what it is. It's like, I've seen like the clips, especially of Johnny Carson. Like, I don't think anything will ever match that. But some of the stuff from Jay Leno's monologue, or from Letterman's top tens, and from Conan and some of these shows, where, I mean, it was laugh out loud funny. And just all these other shows are just not that. They're usually just SJW virtue signaling with a side of cheap expletives. And I just think, like, it's really sad that that's what comedy is now. I guess is just it. That really sums it up with them. It really is sad, because comedy is supposed to make you laugh, not cry. So, I guess if you're kind of done with the state of comedy the same way that I am, I don't know. Maybe if you know of some people that are worth checking out, leave them down below. I'd love to see if I can find something to laugh at. But or if you disagree, leave that too. Love to hear those ideas. Maybe, I don't know, something to laugh at. I don't know. I take life too seriously to begin with. I know that, so it makes it difficult for me to enjoy comedy to begin with. But I don't know. It is what it is.